we're going to talk about Mack Brown getting fired as coach of the North Carolina Tar Heels, what that means, if anything, for the West Virginia Mountaineers. Be right back. Since 1931, the attorneys at Katz, Cantor, Stone Street, and Buckner have been the voice for victims who have suffered serious injury or death. They have a fierce passion for truth and justice and a sincere compassion for those who have been wronged by others. Whether you have been in a car accident or fighting with an insurance company, or you or a loved one has suffered serious injury or death due to medical negligence, we will ensure your voice is heard loud and clear. Katz, Cantor, Stone Street, and Buckner will ensure there is justice for all West Virginians because we are your lawyer, your voice. Visit us at yourlawyeryourvoice.com. The Mack Brown situation. Now, most of you probably have already heard Mack Brown has been fired as the coach of the North Carolina Tar Heel football team. Now, it was just a couple of weeks ago, right? Mack Brown came out in a press conference and said, hey, I'm planning to come back next year. I'm planning to coach because the retirement rumor was kind of out there, and he debunked that. Well, a couple of weeks later, lo and behold, North Carolina said, you're not coming back. You're out. So they fire Mack Brown. Very successful football coach. We obviously know his past. He won a national championship as the coach of Texas back in the early 2000s. I don't remember the exact year. I'm not good at remembering that kind of stuff. But we all know Mack Brown, he had a really good first run at North Carolina before he went to Texas. And then his last run at North Carolina was not super great, but it wasn't terrible either. He had a winning record there. Won quite a few football games. That they do feel, though, at least the fans do, that he underachieved, especially the year he had last year when they had Drake May, and a lot of people thought they were the favorites to win the ACC and even make a run at the CFP. That did not happen. As a matter of fact, they ended up playing my team, West Virginia, in the Dukes Mayo Bowl and getting boat raced. Now, in all fairness, they had several guys out, sitting out the game, including Drake May. But West Virginia was able to win the game by 20 points. So Mack Brown is out. Now, how does this affect West Virginia? Well, it's the first domino to fall in the Power 4 coaching carousel. We were wondering if any Power 4 schools were going to fire their coach. Mack Brown is the first shoe to drop, the first domino to fall, whatever metaphor you want to use. Now, with that, if Ren Baker, the AD at West Virginia, has decided to move on from Neil Brown, will it make it more urgent for him to do so now? Because North Carolina, West Virginia, North Carolina, I'm not afraid to say this, it's probably a slightly more attractive job than West Virginia to a lot of coaches. West Virginia fans, you're going to get mad at me, I understand, but it's just the truth. I think most people would prefer to live in North Carolina, right? You're in, especially if someone who likes the big city, they're near the city of Raleigh down there in Chapel Hill. And there are even some P2 coaches rumored to be interested in this job, including PJ Fleck. Greg Flugar over at College Football Speak Around the Corner talked on his show earlier. Do not rule out somebody like PJ Fleck leaving a school like Minnesota for North Carolina. That's just one example. I think someone on ESPN was talking about it earlier. I didn't get to see the show, but they were talking about how, hey, there's a lot of interest in this job. It's a very attractive job. There's been rumors that North Carolina could eventually move to the Power 2. They're very, very sought after school by both the Big Ten and SEC. And then if there's another round of realignment, North Carolina's a really good job. And they would probably be going after a lot of the same candidates that West Virginia might be going after. So for that reason, if West Virginia decides to move on from Neil Brown, they better hurry up and make a decision and not wait too long to announce it. Or if they decided to better not wait too long to announce the decision and start the search if they haven't already started behind the scenes. Because, like I said, you want to try to get the best candidates out there. You don't want to get behind in the coaching carousel wheel, so to speak. And when you look at some of the candidates, the first name that has popped up in most people's list is John Summerall, who ironically used to work for Neil Brown at Troy. He was one of Neil Brown's assistants at Troy. He has now arguably surpassed Neil Brown as a sought-after coach. They're saying he'll probably be sought after for any Power 4 job that comes open potentially. His name is one of the first ones coming up. We've heard Glenn Schumann. I heard Glenn Schumann, the DC at Georgia, another name that some West Virginia fans have talked about. Wanting as a candidate at West Virginia, should Neil Brown move on? I've heard other names like, Barry Odom from UNLV. I saw something about Dan Mullen. There's those types of names, the same names you see on X. Again, these are not candidates, but these are people fans are talking about more than anything for the West Virginia job if it should come open. Some of the same names because these are both Power 4 programs, neither in the Power 2. There are a lot of similarities. Now, like I said, I think most coaches, not all, but most would probably prefer North Carolina. I think North Carolina's probably in slightly better shape when it comes to NIL. And, they're not wealthy by any means. They're not an Ohio State or a Texas, but they're probably in a better spot than West Virginia would be from a resources standpoint. And again, they're in one of the fastest growing states in the country. It's probably easier to recruit there because it's in the South. They're closer to hotbeds of recruiting like Florida and, the Carolinas, Virginia. So I think all of that needs to be taken into account.